المستهدين، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون. نحمده تعالى على نعمائه لا نحصي ثناء عليه، هو كما أثنى على نفسه أو أثنى عليه رسوله عليه الصلاة والسلام. نشكره ولا نكفره، نؤمن به ونتوكل عليه، هو مولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. ثم أما بعد، أحبتي في الله، the Sahaba, they came to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, ud'u Allah lana. Make some dua for us. They felt they have reached their limit of the challenges they were facing. And possibly, in human calculation, they did. They were spit on, including the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, deserted. Some were beaten up, others had to flee to another continent as they went to Al-Hijrah. For over 3 years, they were in siege, living in a valley, isolated from the world. No one is to communicate with them, exchange with them, or interact with them. They felt alone in the world. And surely so. They were the outsiders, as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam have said. Bada al-Islamu ghariban. It was unknown. The argument by the opposition was that you're coming with something that we've never heard before or experienced before. أَجَعَلَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عُجَابٌ ما سمعنا بهذا في الملة الآخرة إن هذا إلا اختلاق. Accusations left and right. The media at its best, attacking them in their character and their sincerity and honesty and unity. At the head of it, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was accused of separating between the husband and wife and father and children. It was a situation of despair. So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, ud'u Allah lana. Pray for us, to relieve us from the stress, to find an opening and a solution, to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The response of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not that I feel what you're going through and I understand that we've reached our limit. On the contrary, he said, إِنَّكُمْ قَوْمٌ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. We are people that are hasty. We haven't reached our peak yet. Our limits are not there yet. إِنَّ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ يُؤْتَى بِالرَّجُلِ فَيُنْشَرْ بِالْمِنْشَارِ نِصْفَيْنِ لَا يَرُدُّهُ عَنْ دِينِهِ شَيْءٍ. There were times where in the past the person would be brought and he would be cut in half. And he would not recant on his faith. He reflected of a history of challenges of the best. He understood to reach success you have to climb a steep hill, a very high mountain. He read in the Quran al-Kareem that the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his own people threw him in the fire. He read that 950 years plus was not sufficient enough to convince only the few of those who followed Nuh alayhi salam. He read that the purest of all families, Al Imran, had to go through So much talk. And Maryam alayhi salam had to be told, ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا. And even with the miracle that they witnessed with their own eyes of the child speaking in the cradle, it was still not enough, and they had to flee their homes. It wasn't enough that Musa alayhi salam was put in a cradle to sail in the river to whatever ends it goes, and his mother is looking at him with her tears flowing down her cheeks, and all she has is a promise that she was completely in faith with Inna radduhu ilayki wa ja'iluhu min al-mursalin. So he said to the Sahaba, innakum qawmun tastajilun. You are people that are hasty. Success doesn't come overnight, and peace is not accomplished by wishful thinking. And victory is not something you can buy. It is something that you have to earn. 13 years. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa saw the worst of what people can offer. Even though he stood from point A, said, have you ever witnessed me to lie? And they all, with no exception, said, we have never witnessed you to lie. ما جربنا عليك كذبا قط. Not one time. And as soon as the truth was spoken from him and by him, he was the ultimate liar of all times. They would follow him wherever he goes, step by step. They would warn everyone that did not hear about him, beware. He's a man of magic and man of power that divides, and he speaks to manipulate. That's what they said to the masses that attended Mecca. And the Rasul ﷺ did not stop. He'd walk in the marketplace and his uncle would be behind him. He would go to a Taif only to find the children throw stones at his feet. He felt it at times to where he said, Allahumma inni ashku ilayka ba'fa quwwati wa qillat hilati wa hawani ala nas. But that did not stop him. Because his objective was, فَإِنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ بِكَ عَلَيَّ غَضَبٌ فَلَا أُبَالِي. If there is no anger from you towards me, then I don't mind the struggle. He didn't mind 3 days and nights hiding in the cave where his own companion said, Wallahi لو نظر أحدهم تحت قدميه لرآنا. If only one of them looked below their feet, they would have seen us. He didn't mind to give his home up to find a family in Medina, only to be in the midst of hypocrites that night and day will plot against him and his faith and people. He didn't mind that he was poisoned and died as a result of that poison years later. Over a month, the city of Medina was in siege. And the enemies came from every direction, including within. During the Battle of the Trench, it didn't mind that only the few of 314 were facing almost 1,000 at the Battle of Badr. Or even a distant enemy was willing to prepare an army to march into the middle of the Arabian Peninsula as the Romans and Persians were plotting. That is what life is. It's a struggle. يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. We're such impatient beings. وخلق الإنسان عجولا. We want with the blink of an eye things just to become dandy. It did not happen. It won't happen. The norm is that you will be tested. ألف لام ميم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا ويقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. That is not possible, that you would wish that you would not be tested. On the contrary, Allah Ta'ala swears, He gives an oath that He will test you. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. You will taste the loss of wealth and health and family. And we can witness there's a deceased right behind us. That's leaving family behind, and family will not be able to see her, inshallah, until Jannah. That is the norm. But the norm has a solution, has remedy. Allah Ta'ala did not create earth and life so it can stay in chaos. And in fact, He said we are not to create corruption because earth has been perfected. وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. Life is not meant to be corrupted, but on the contrary, it's meant to be fixed and mended, but it needs the right ingredient, the right prescription for it to work. Someone that can carry in their heart the love of the others more than they love themselves. Those who are willing to have their sleepless nights worries of the others and for the others than for their selfishness in themselves. Even if it means worrying about those who hate you, who stand against you. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not sent to those who loved him. He was sent to all mankind, to humanity at large. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. If we carry that heart of His, if we're able to emulate the life of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his character, the best of all, then everything that exists eventually will become better. And solutions will be at arm's reach. And even at the moments of challenges, contentment will be our share of that challenge. And that's all sometimes one needs to feel peaceful. To be content that that's the best. Even if it's at moments of hunger. Even if it means the best walks in the middle of the heat in the summer, looking for food, as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam have done. And even if it means his family might not see the fire being lit in their home for a month or two, it does not matter. Because contentment is what was in his heart, and that was the remedy of the joy and happiness that he had in his life. He loved living, as he loved to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eventually. He did not live a moment where stress was because life was not easy. His source of stress is, how can I make other people feel better? فَلَا تَذْهَبْ نَفْسُكَ عَلَيْهِمْ حَسَرَاتٍ. That was the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He understood that his challenges should be motivations for solutions for other people's needs. If a Sahabi is whispering in his ear and saying, my wife has prepared a meal for you and a small group of your companions, Ya Rasulullah, so just whisper to them, few, and have them come for a meal, for him to stand in front of the whole troop of the Battle of the Trench, of hundreds and hundreds of them, saying, all of you have been invited. And all of a sudden the hunger of all was gone. His need did not stand in his way to teach Abu Hurairah that your need can be fulfilled by fulfilling the needs of the others. When a bowl of milk was brought to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Abu Hurairah is looking at the bowl of milk and saying, my fear is that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam might ask me to serve, and if I serve I'll be the last to drink, and there might not be anything left for me to drink. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam sensed that feeling of Abu Hurairah, only to say, Ya Abahim, isqilqam. Serve them. Stands and serves, he gives the first one that bowl and he drinks, and then gives the second and he drinks, he gives the third and he drinks, and he looks into that bowl, and that bowl has not decreased, not even a drop. Not a drop. Now if Abu Hurairah would have drank first, it would have decreased. If he had not served, he might not have saw a drop of that milk be his share. Until all drank. Then the Rasul said, Ya Abdulhakim, now you drink. And he drank. Then he reached it to the Rasul. The Rasul said, drink again. And he drank. And he said, here Ya Rasul, I said, drink again. He drank the third time. And after that he said, Ya Rasul, Wallahi, I cannot drink anymore. The ummah, for it to find its solutions, needs to unite and become like a one-wall body. One body that aches for each other and a wall that leans on each other. And if it cannot find itself being such, then we're only digging more holes for ourselves, and our attire is only being torn apart. Rasul did not mind traveling in the heat after the battle of Bani Mustaliq, and people being drenched with their sweat and thirst is killing them. It was an easier solution than they themselves fighting at each other. Our ummah is in chaos today. Most of our problems are within, as Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman have said in his hadith, that he asked, that Rasul asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 3 things. He answered to 2 but rejected the 3rd. What was that he rejected? And la taj'al ba'sa ummati baynahum shadid. That you don't have the hate and the animosity amongst my ummah great and severe. When he heard Yad al-Aws, Yad al-Ansar, and all of a sudden their titles are taken over their unity, he said, now we march. And they marched back in the heat until they were all drained of energy. Our exhaustion is not the problem. The energy that is being directed in the wrong places is. The Sahaba witnessed loss of life, 70 of them, during the Battle of Uhud. It wasn't worse than the Sahaba not listening to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their numbers in the Battle of Hunayn was not their asset. Their asset was remembering that Allah Ta'ala being on their side is their victory. So when they said, we're not going to be defeated out of numbers, Abu Sufyan said when he saw them fleeing, running away from the battlefield, only the ocean will stop them, only the sea will stop them. And only a few stood with the Rasul sallallahu a little over 100, while he's screaming out of his lungs, Ana nabiyyu la kadhib, ana ibn Abdul Muttalib. Brothers and sisters, what we see today, unfortunately, does not move us because it's just news. You hear it at the news hour, then you flip the channel for entertainment, or you surf the web only to find what's the next movie at the theater. Our life is about living what other people are going through. And we have a dire situation in Gaza and Palestine. Unfortunately, when crises are so much, we forget. We have a page of Syria today, and another page of Yemen, my home country. And as crises come in other parts and regions of the world, like Libya and others, we kind of forget the old ones. While the old ones have not seen their solutions yet. And their problems are only growing more. 96% of the people in Gaza have no access to water. Can you imagine? 96%. Children at the age of 11 never witnessed electricity to stay on, at least for one full day. Nutrition is very hard to find, and medicine, they can only dream of. The embargo has strangled them, and the grip on their throats is so tight they can barely breathe, and we have forgotten. Why? Because we have another scar to pay attention to, another grief to fall into. But the Ummah cannot get out of its misery until the whole Ummah at one stands together and let go of their egos and problems or ethnicities and divisions. أسأل الله تعالى أن يحفظني وإياكم من كل سوء. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ثم أما بعد. As I was saying, I've been to Palestine myself 5 times. It's something that words cannot describe. And only those who have went there or from there can understand what I'm saying. It's a country that is in siege. It is the largest imprisonment that we can ever witness in human history. That is Palestine at large. Now imagine within the prison there's also that cell that not even air is allowed to enter. That cell is called Gaza. A massive war in 2004, another few years later, devastated the nation, and borders are closed from all directions. And add to it now, very few think about that. Well, United Muslim Relief today are appealing to you, to your generosity, to humanity, to unity, to your deen, to you today, to reach out and help. They are in dire need of medicine and food and water. 1,800 will sponsor a family for a year. That's $1,800. For most of us, that's less than our rent. For them, that's a year of living, a year of survival, not even living, a year of survival. $1,800 is probably less than the bill that we pay for our extra phone bill, or for the internet that we usually use that who knows what we use it for, if it's beneficial or not. Hopefully, some of us will just take a little bit of that and put it aside today and say, this is for my brothers and sisters and children in a nation that have been fighting in our cause, for the last century. So put that $1,800, we never know when death comes. 60 plus years and our sister has gone. أسأل الله تعالى أن يرحمها ويوسع مدخلها. Our sister Fathiya from Algeria, leaving 2 kids behind, just passed away. اللهم اجعل قبرها روضة من رياض الجنة ووسع لها مدخلها واحفظ لها أولادها واجمعها بهم في جنة عرضها السماوات والأرض. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاحا إلا أعنتنا على قضائها ويسرتها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم كن لنا ولا تكن علينا، اللهم كن لنا ولا تكن علينا، اللهم إنا نشكو إليك ضعف قوتنا وقلة حيلتنا وهواننا على الناس. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك ضعف قوتنا وقلة حيلتنا وهواننا على الناس. فإن لم يكن بك علينا غضب فلا نبالي يا رب العالمين، ولكن رحمتك هي أوسع لنا. اعلموا أحبتي في الله أن الله تعالى يقول إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. ثم اعلموا أن الله تعالى يقول إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر. والله أعلم وتصنعون وأقم الصلاة. Please come forward so the brothers that are standing there find space.